Hey, I'm Sith King.
And I'm Sonic Sons.
We're the Rambling Reviewers.
And today we're looking at an anime classic.
Well, it's not really classic.
I call it a classic.
Okay, well,
classic.
it's just past its 10-year anniversary.
Yeah.
I'd say at least 20 years before it's a classic. But then again, the field of anime is just so young in general. It's Gurren Lagann! Fuck you.
Yes. Gurren Lagann, brought to you by the same people who brought you Neon Genesis Evangelion.
You can see our review of that show and how to fix it
Yeah.
in our list of videos.
It's
Many.
somewhere up there. Just go find it if you feel like it.
Yeah. Gurren Lagann is the spiritual antithesis of that. Or rather, the reconstruction of it.
Yeah. It's... You know, there's been a lot of shows with giant robots / monsters fighting. And
I am happy for that.
And that's happy. Yeah, we are. But really, it's Neon Genesis and Gurren Lagann are, for me, the two that stand out from the pack. And it's amazing they're built by the same
Pacific
people.
Rim?
Well, that's not anime.
Okay.
And honestly, as much as I like Pacific Rim, I would still rate these two above that. Because it affords room to develop its story when you get a whole season, you know?
I mean, don't get me wrong, check out Tales from Year Zero or something. That's pretty cool. It's like the origin of the Jaeger program and stuff. But this is not about Pacific Rim, much as we wish it was.
By
the way, Pacific Rim sequel coming out next year.
Ooh, we're going to see it.
Oh my god, yes. Anyways, Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann, as the full title is, but often abbreviated down to Gurren Lagann.
Gurren Lagann, as they say.
I prefer Gurren Lagann.
Yeah, I know.
Anyways, the full name is Heaven Piercing Crimson Face.
Ooh.
Japanese are weird.
That's part of the title. Heaven Piercing Crimson Face, Japanese are weird.
I think that's the subtitle of every anime.
Maybe.
Like, you're watching Sailor Moon and they're doing the twirly dance where they're turned into silhouettes and you can see that they're not wearing clothes, and this is supposed to be totally normal, and the subtitle should be flashing on the screen. Japan is weird. Japan is weird. Japan is weird. This is not normal. Hell, there's an anime called JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It's in the title.
Yeah.
But we should actually talk about Gurren Lagann. Okay. Wow. I don't think I can... I'll sum it up in a little more, like, once we're done with the recap, but it starts off in a massive battle in space. Guns flashing, explosions covering the sky. A man in a cape walks forward, demanding progress reports. All the lights in the sky, the crew says, are their enemies. And they say, good, bring him on, or something to that effect. And they charge forward, guns swiveling into position as it zooms out over the bow of a massive space battleship. And this has nothing to do with anything else.
Yeah.
I'm serious. What happened was Gainax wanted this to be a flash forward in the show. The problem was that once they started going, well, it didn't really fit in with the rest of what they had.
They changed some of their story plans.
Yeah, so it helped that they kind of forgot that this was there. And eventually fans said, wait, is this like the bad future where they create the spiral nemesis and everything is at war with each other? Gainax said, yeah, sure.
So good save there, fans.
Yeah. But then it goes and shows a boy digging underground with a drill. This is Simon the Digger.
And they make a lot of stuff. They use the idea of a drill so many different ways.
In this show. In this show,
yes. Yeah.
Yeah, the drill is one of the central concepts of the anime, and one is just prevalent in everything. Simon's job is to expand Giha Village, where everyone and everything he knows is, and they live underground. But his friend, Kamina, who's also kind of his boss, but like in a brotherly sense.
Yeah, Kamina is always brotherly with them. You know, he never could really just be a jerk, distant boss.
Yeah. Kamina has been trying to make plans. See, Kamina says that he's been from someplace called the Surface. This weird expanse where there is no ceiling. And that you can see something called the sun and the moon. Mythical concepts. But everyone thinks he's an idiot. Because, well, they've always lived underground. Why would they live anywhere else? Sure, there's occasionally earthquakes, and that causes the ceiling to collapse and kill people, including Simone's parents.
Oh.
But anyways, along one day, one very faithful day that will change the very fate of humanity, Simone finds something. A tiny little drill. He puts it on a necklace, and he wears it. And then he goes up to the surface, up to the village, and he talks to Kamina. Kamina begins to tell him that this is your soul. This represents who you are, and it's good that you found this. Keep it. Then, Kamina tries a wacky harebrained scheme to try to pierce through the village by riding on a bunch of pig moles.
Yes.
This is exactly as stupid as it sounds, and guess what? It fails. So the leader of the village basically puts him in jail until he admits there is no surface. Eventually he lets him out. No, actually, sorry. Simone breaks Kamina out. They get caught. The village leader starts hitting Kamina with the scabbard of his sword, and as he's about to hit him the third time, the ceiling explodes. Down comes a gigantic ox head with arms and legs. And it's streaming through that hole, sunshine. So Kamina puts on his signature pointy glasses, says, "So, Chief, what's that about a surface not existing again? Which one of us is the liar? Because from where I'm standing, looks like that's pretty conclusive evidence." Yeah, so then Kamina walks up to the giant head and says, "Hey, asshole, this is my village, get out." The head then calls him a moron, which he is because he's walking up to a giant robot and pointing at it with a sword and telling him to get out. And as Kamina and this giant robot are about to fight, a girl in a bikini swings down from the surface and starts shooting at it with a sniper rifle. This is Gurren Lagann, people. This is all the first episode. Well, unfortunately for both of them, it seems they can't defeat it on their own. Although word of God says that Kamina would have eventually defeated the gunman had Yoko not intervened. By the way, this girl's name is Yoko. Simone then says, "Wait, I know what we could use to defeat this thing." And he takes him through a long series of winding tunnels down to something he found shortly after he found the little drill necklace. And it's a little red face, about the size of a human, but it's another face robot like the one up above. Kamina tells him, "We can use this to fight, and you're going to be the one to pilot it, Simone." Simone asks, "Why?" "Because it's yours. You found it. It's yours. Its name is Lagann. I'm naming it now, bitch." And they win. They fight this gunman, that's what it's called, a gunman in the middle of their village.
To be clear, a gunman is one of these robots and not just a man with a gun.
Yeah. Simone manages to turn Lagann into a drill with rockets and punches the gunman straight back up through the hole, destroying it as they go until they're like up in the sky. And they finally get to see this whole panoramic view of the world. This is the first time that Kamina and Simone have ever seen the surface. And that's episode 1.
Yay! What a start.
Yeah, okay. Episode 2, they fight more gunmen, and they, Kamina and Simone are taken by Yoko to the village of Littner, where they find other people who've been living on the surface, and the reason they're on the surface is because they were forced out of their homes because they were built next to an ancient weapon deposit, and stuff started leaking out of there, and that's not good. It turns out that all the earthquakes that killed people underground were because occasionally these gunmen will slam down into the ground from somewhere else and they'll try to kill humans. And they'll give no explanation why, but the people of Littner Village have been fighting them ever since. But now, with Lagann, they might have a chance. And they meet the incredibly flamboyantly gay Liron. No, that's not even a spoiler. The dude is hilariously gay. Like, damn, is this guy gay. Literally, his theme song has the words, "He is so gay" in it. I'm not joking. This is a thing that exists. and he starts to try to analyze Lagann's technology. The next day, 3 gunmen attack the village, and they... Turns out that if you have a robot that's about the height of a man versus 3 things about the size of a house, you're gonna run into problems.
Oh, yeah, you might.
Yeah. It's being led by a big red gunman, and Kamina manages to take it over by using his brains. He grabs hold of a gun and then starts using it as a hammer to make the door open. And he nearly shoots his balls off. I'm not kidding, this is a thing. To be fair, he's never seen a gun before, so, you know. But eventually he does get the cockpit open and steals it from the Beastman inside. And it locks him out, which you would expect because it's not its right fucking user. Only for Kamina to see something out of the cockpit. A glint of light. He examines it closer. It's the corpse of his father. His father left him in Giha village because his father knew that the world was dangerous. And Kamina had only ever dreamed of one thing: going up to the surface to be with his father and prove that he wasn't a coward anymore, that he wasn't scared of the surface. And what did his father get for his bravery, for his life? He died a pointless, meaningless death out in the middle of nowhere. This pisses Kamina off, and that somehow activates the gunman's full systems, allows him to pilot it, and he basically destroys the other 2 gunmen with the help of Simon and Lagann.
There's a lot to be said in this show for the power of emotion and heart and hot-bloodedness.
Oh my god, yes.
Like, you could override technology with your damn feelings, and it's really cool as a character development thing.
Let's see. By the next episode, they've turned the 3 gunmen into 1, creating Gurren and Lagann. You can see where this is going.
Yep.
So they go, Yoko and Simon go hunting, where they meet a weird beastman who's like part cat, part shark, but looks like a human, just with sharp teeth. Mm-hmm. His name is Viral. Viral's job is to exterminate all humans who come to the surface. That's his job, and it's the first hint of the real overarching plot that we get, instead of just these idiots wandering around with giant robots. Though, let's be fair here, I'm a fan of Megas XLR. We could watch that. Yeah. They fight, and then Viral comes back and he proves that his gunman has a head on top of his head. So Kamina, because he's an idiot, says, "Oh, you can do that, huh?" Grabs the mini gunman, Lagann, slams it on top of Gurren, and says, "Ha, now we have 2 heads." And then they get hot-blooded enough, and this actually causes them to combine into Gurren Lagann. The titular mech of the... Well, second titular. Kind of titular? Never mind.
Close enough.
Yeah, they beat up Viral, who was kicking their ass up until that point. Is then that Yoko, Liran, Kamina, Simon, and Simon's pet pig mole, Buta, come in, and they decide to leave Littner Village to try to find out who's sending out those gunmen to attack humans, because they had recovered some files from the gunmen and were like, oh, okay, they're coming from this location. Up until episode 6, that was the main plot. Them going around to different places and trying to find the source of the gunmen. This includes them stopping off at another underground village where they took in 2 kids, Gimme and Dari, a boy and a girl, twins, and a boy named Liran. No, Rosyu. But, so Team Gurren starts growing more and more. Until eventually, they, after shenanigans at a gunman that is also a bathhouse, filled with horror versions of previous characters from Studio Gainax properties.
Oh, really?
I'm not kidding. They've looked this up.
Oh, I didn't realize that reference when I saw it.
Yeah. They decide to... They finally... Viral catches up with them and says, I'm going to kill you, and to help me is the mobile base of all human suppression forces, Daigunzen, which is a giant battleship that walks and also can't swim, but it just walks around.
Okay.
And it launches gunmen in the most logical way possible. Oh, wait, no, I mean it throws them with giant arms. At this point, things start to go badly for Team Gurren until more members of Team Gurren arrive. It turns out that people have been hearing stories about how it's possible to steal gunmen and use them to fight off the monsters. So people have been doing that all over the land. And they are eager to join up with this hero. And I'm speeding through it because I'm trying to cover a 26-episode anime.
Yeah,
but I'm really not really getting into how influential Kamina is, to the point where more people know Kamina than have finished the series.
Of course.
Yeah. Well, see, that's a problem because Kamina says, okay, we're going to steal that battleship. We're going to make it our base so we can find the real culprit who's providing the gunmen for these guys, and we're going to stomp them down. Because that's how Team Gurren rolls. What follows next is a very harsh, very long battle, which has lots of people getting badly injured, hurt, and even, well, Simon gets distracted because he has a crush on Yoko, and Yoko and Kamina have a thing, and they kiss just before the battle. Now, Simon sees them, and he's like, oh no, the girl doesn't like me, even though she's clearly like 5 or 6 years older, and I'm like 12. So he's feeling depressed, and he's not really feeling up to the battle. So even though his part of the plan is stick Lagann into the top of the Daigunzen and take it over, like how Lagann takes over Gurren whenever they combine like that, he's not really feeling the energy necessary to do that. Like we said, emotion is power in this universe. So Kamina gives him a pep talk. Oh wait, no, I mean, he runs out of his mech, runs over to Lagann, orders him to open up the cockpit, and punches Simon in the face, screaming, why don't you, let's see you grit those teeth!
It's amazing how this show can make punching someone in the face actually feel therapeutic.
And it is.
It's like, I'm punching you out of love, and that would normally be a terrible phrase anywhere else, but somehow in the context of this particular show, it's like he's just, I don't know, challenging him to be more awesome or something, and it works.
One important phrase that I should mention was mentioned in the first episode. Kamina said to Simon said, I'm scared. I don't think I can do this. Kamina says, I know you can. Simon says, I can't. Well, if you can't believe in yourself, then believe in me. Believe in the Kamina who believes in Simon. If you believe in me, you're believing in yourself. It's the same thing. Now let's do this. And they went off to go fight the first gunman. Kamina says that Simon needs to believe in himself. Again. And it is at this point that Gurren Lagann changes. Up until this point, it had been mostly episodic. Tales of a bunch of idiots running around with a giant mech, trying to find out this vague mystery of, oh, something's going on, but it's not quite right. At this point, the commander of the Daigunzen. Can you look this up?
Oh, sorry. I want his name.
Yeah, I wanted to know his name because he's the. Hang on. Daigunzen. Okay, looking. Okay. Come on. Really? How is this not on here?
I don't know. It's not on Wikipedia either. Wait. Is it Philmilf?
Timilf. Thymilf? Or I don't remember. It's been 10 years since I last saw this.
Shimurufu.
Timilf is the general in charge, one of the 4 generals of the Spiral King, commander of Daigunzen. And when Kamina is distracted, he rams a spear straight through the back of Gurren, impaling Kamina inside of his own mech, destroying his internal organs, killing him.
Yeah.
And this is the moment where...
a huge shift.
Okay, sure. It was anime. We're used to this sort of shenanigans before. You know, we're going to have a big fight, but everyone turns out all right. But no. That's not what happened here. Kamina... Even to this day, I get a little choked up thinking about it too hard. And Kamina, yes, this is only episode 8 out of 26. But here's the thing. Kamina established the tone of Gurren Lagann. He basically set in motion everything that was to follow. Or at least he helped. And when he died, that was so just shaking, shattering. And not just out of universe. In universe, it was devastating. Everyone basically shut down at this. And it meant that Viral and Timolf decided to go apeshit and start trying to destroy everyone. Simon couldn't even move his gunman. Couldn't even move himself. Until Kamina brought himself back from the dead with force of "fuck you, of course I can do this," and threw his gunman's arm to punch Simon's mech in the face to say, "Snap the fuck out of it, bitch." This is what should be done anytime we see a Shinji Ikari. Throwing a giant robot hand at people.
Oh boy. I mean, I obviously... Shinji is wonderful in his own element, but it is great to see this a very different perspective or attitude or something also explored in a different show. It would have to be in a different show.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Okay, so then Gurren gets up to Lagann and says, bro, we're combining one last time. And they combine into Gurren Lagann, and all of the injuries of the mech disappear completely. And they do perform what becomes the signature attack of the entire show. Basically, they face down their opponent. They rip the sunglasses off of Gurren. Because of course it has sunglasses. Shut up. Throw it like a boomerang. It flies through the air, splits into multiple sunglasses, and pins the enemy robot in midair. Then, drills appear all over Gurren Lagann. They retract. One arm raises. That arm turns into a gigantic drill that is like 3 or 4 times bigger than the mech itself. It points it down at the enemy. What appears to be a rocket comes out of the back of it, and it flies through the air, punching a hole straight through the enemy mech. Gurren Lagann lands. The sunglasses pop back into position, and the enemy explodes. All to a scream of Giga Dorelu Breaker! Glorious.
Calling your attacks at the best.
Oh my god. Well, it's Giga Drill Break, but the way that they say it, it sounds like Giga Drill Breaker.
Yeah.
And I think it sounds better that way, but anyways.
Mm-hmm. And you actually can't pronounce break in Japanese. That's how it's bureku.
Yeah, well, Japan is weird.
Yeah.
Brick joke! Anyways, and as the smoke starts to settle, we see Kamina in the cockpit slump over and say, "Farewell, buddy." Kamina is dead for real this time. Yeah, the next couple episodes are tough. First off, Yoko insists that the group is called Team Daiguren because that was Kamina's last decision he made as leader. I mean, aside from bringing himself back from the dead so he could turn his robot into a giant rocket drill. Which, let's be fair, if there were more presidential candidates who made the decision to bring themselves back from the dead and turn their robot into a giant rocket drill, I think that we'd be more interested in the electoral process. Mm-hmm. Look, I'm not saying that Donald Trump is a bad president, but when was the last time you saw him transform himself into a giant rocket drill? I remember when Obama did that.
Wow. Well, you know.
Of course, I could have been hallucinating because of the cold medicine. Let's be fair here. Also, to be fair, I finished binge watching this series the same night that I started watching My Little Pony. So 8 hours of Gurren Lagann plus an hour of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic equals dreams the next night of galaxy-sized ponies beating each other to death with drills while everything is on fire. Because yes. I swear that is an actual dream that I had. Second off, as they drive the newly renamed Daiguren away, basically the battleship gunman, Simon tries to run away because he's channeling Shinji Ikari at this moment and says, you know that I must not run away thing? Fuck that. I'm running away, bitch. And he finds a valley that a gunman tosses a box into. He uses his core drill, the necklace thingy, to open it up and reveals a girl inside. And then it's revealed that she and her brother, Simon Tam, are on the run from the government and are trying to hide out with the crew of the Firefly until they can get... You're not stopping me, are you?
How long is he going to go with that?
Yep, no. But in reality, yes, it is a girl in a box. Nia, who is probably the nicest person in all of Gurren Lagann until the time skip. Mm-hmm. Because she's, well... Simon rescues her and brings her back to Daiguren, and she's legitimately so nice that everyone's suspicious of her, but they can't find a reason to get rid of her. Of course, it does subvert the anime trope of, oh, this girl is cute and nice. She cooks well, too. No, you don't want her anywhere near your cooking. She basically incapacitated all of Team Daiguren with her cooking. Which is bad because the second of the generals shows up at this point, along with Viral again. Her name is Adine.
Or Adian, yeah. Either way.
Second of the 4 generals. Now, eventually they manage to take her out. That's true. But the problem is that Simon's still really depressed because his adopted brother is dead. This gets corrected in the next several episodes with, they run into Cytomander, who is a bird beastman and third of the 4 generals, but they don't kill him. They also get an upgrade for Gurren Lagann, as well as the rest of them, because they discover floaty spheres. That's what I call them anyway, because they're spheres that make you float, and use them to create, rocket boosters for all the gunmen. But then they're trapped by Guami. Guami is an armadillo and right-hand man of the Spiral King. He traps them. And it's at this moment that Nia finally gets through to Simon and gets him to realize that, yes, life is still worth living. And he gives one of the best speeches in the entire show. My bro is dead. He's gone. But he's here on my back and here in my heart. He lives on as a part of me. If you're gonna dig until you pierce through the heavens. Even if it's my own grave I'm digging in, if I break through, that just means that I've won. Who the hell do you think I am? I'm Simon. I'm not my brother. I'm not anyone else. I'm me, Simon the Digger! And then Simon pulls a Giga Drill Breaker on Guami's mech, which... Props to Simon for being able to do basically the most difficult maneuver in all of Spiral, the signature move of all Spiral users, for the first time, while he's basically saying, fuck you, spirits of angst that have haunted this fucking mecha genre all this time, ever since Neon Genesis Evangelion. Fuck this deconstructionist bullshit. I am manning the fuck up, and I am going to prove to everyone that I am not going to take this lying down anymore. Also, props to Guami for not dying to the signature move of the spiral races.
Well, and props to, I want to just put a comment about the writers here, that they can somehow start off with this hot-blooded, having fun, fighting bad guys thing, take it to as dark a place of Kamiya's death, and then turn it around again, and yet still feel authentic the whole time. Because when you just describe it as, like, you know, screw you to the angst and the genre or whatever, it doesn't come across like they're just trying to parody something or just be, you know, meta about it. It really comes across as this is a personal journey of Simone's, and it feels real. And I love how Kamiya's impact on all the characters stays with them the rest of the show. Like, it really truly did matter to everybody. It was not the forgotten fallen friend trope, you know, where the writers just kind of forget about somebody once they're not active anymore in the story. The characters that have a lot of depth to them that you wouldn't necessarily expect from a show that's all about hot-bloodedness, and that actually makes the hot-bloodedness that much more meaningful.
Because it's not just, oh, I'm going to be powerful because I'm yelling. It's, I have genuine emotions, and those make me stronger.
Yeah, and I would say that it does that so much more. Yeah, it does a much better job of that than, say, DBZ, which is much more just yelling.
Yeah, it was revealed with the water lady, Adine, whatever. That Nia is actually the daughter of their greatest enemy, the Spiral King, who rules from the castle city of Tepelin. And once they get to Tepelin, it's revealed that Saitamander and Guami are also there, ready to face down against Team Daiguren, except that there's dozens of other battleships hijacked from the Beastmen by humans from all over the place. See, they made a mistake earlier. The Beastmen, I mean. They meant to demoralize everyone by executing Team Gurren on live TV, and this would be broadcast to all the different human villages. Problem with that, they didn't execute them and got handed a humiliating defeat with a hot-blooded speech that raises everyone's spirits and makes them go, yeah, we can kick these guys' asses. Yeah, so dozens of spiral battleships. It's an armada that's... I don't think you could do this any other way than in Gurren Lagann, because you have ships ramming into each other, but because they're also giant robots, their bows will be crumpled against one another, and then, like, the rest of the robot part will start punching the other battleship in the face, and the other battleship is punching them right back. So they destroy Saitamander and Guami, and then Tepelin starts to charge up this super energy wall thing. And this is a part that I actually don't like. They decide to go, wait, I know, we'll pierce through it with our spirit! And, like, Team Daiguren is like, wait, what? So a whole bunch of guys just kamikaze themselves into Tepelin, which I thought was just the dumbest thing. Is there a chance we could pause it for a sec? Okay, so what happens next is, okay, I kind of went out of order. Guami is still alive at this point, and he's the one generating the force field thing that they kamikaze themselves stupidly into. Simone decides to destroy it by drilling underneath, because drills. And this means Tepelin is finally active and allowed to go and do shit. So the Spiral King decides to reveal, oh yeah, Tepelin is actually a giant robot the size of a mountain.
Wow.
Oh shit. There's some awesome stuff. Awesome stuff happens. Kick-ass stuff, like slamming through a drill the size of the Space Needle. And finally, Gurren Lagann crash lands into the throne room of the Spiral King. Nia, Rosiu, and Simone piloting the mech. Okay, well, Nia's actually just more being in there. Yeah. Look, I like Nia, but she doesn't really do much. In pre-time skip. I mean, she's her own character, but she doesn't, like...
She's not a warrior, and that's okay.
Yeah, exactly. They meet the Spiral King, who looks buff as fucking hell. I'm serious. This guy is ripped. Imagine All Might if he was a villain and had eyes.
Eyes, yeah. He has those.
Yeah. So, the Spiral King in Super Douche Mode says to Viral, I've made you immortal now. So Viral goes, yes, now I'll use this new power to defeat. And then he's beaten in like one move by Gurren Lagann. Viral goes, what the hell? I thought you gave me a power-up. No, I said I made you immortal. There's a difference. I want you to be immortal so that you can live forever and tell people about my victory over these idiots. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go beat up these idiots. And he summons his personal gunman, Lagann, which is based entirely off of Eva Unit 01.
Oh.
Yeah, right down to the teeth. Except, with more normal proportions. And not made out of dead mom.
Well, that's a whole other thing, yeah.
Yeah, it's just made of burning will of the spiral races.
All right.
Shut up. It's more awesome. Funny story. There was actually like some Word of God supplementary material to some of the Ava movies that said that's part of the reason that Ava's had like so much that Angels had so much energy. Evangelion was they had a spiral-based energy generator.
Oh.
But this was like before Gurren Lagann came out. But
okay.
But like, it shows that the concept was around before. Anyways, what happens is probably one of the better fights in the show. Gurren Lagann is evenly matched with Lagann. It even manages to no-sell a Giga Drill Breaker, the only foe up until the final boss of the entire series to be able to do that. Yeah. So they come up with a genius plan. Don't worry, we know what we're doing. So Rosyu rips Lagann off of Gurren, sticks it into Lagann. Lagann then is then going to be taken over by Gurren, right? Wrong, because Lord Genome, the Spiral King, shows why he's the Spiral King. He gets out of his mech, walks on a 90-degree surface down to Lagann, and punches it in the face until it falls off. He then engages Lagann in hand-to-hand combat. Keep in mind, this is a human who is fighting a robot.
A giant robot of that.
Well, it's about the size of a human, so, Okay. It only ends when Simone sticks the core drill into Lord Genome's chest and twists, sending a blast of energy that carves out the center of his body. And even then, Lord Genome doesn't stop talking.
Yeah.
And he's awesome.
He manages to stand up where you can, like, clearly see everything.
Not
through,
spine, not lungs, not heart.
Yeah.
And then Nia and Simone rocket away out of the falling remains of Tepelin. And as this happens, they start playing the theme song, Sora Iro Days, or Blue Sky Days, as I've heard one translation call it. I prefer Days of Endless Sky because that sounds better.
Yeah.
It's not accurate, but at no point do they say Sora Iro Days in the song, so I think I'm okay with this.
I think it's fine, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways. And it announces that the Battle of Tepelin took 7 days. And now the threat of the Spiral King is over. Well, that's the end of the... Oh, no, it's not.
Ooh.
Now it's time for a time skip. Now, one thing that I have heard about this show is that it's meant to... Each of the various arcs are meant to embody the different periods of Mecha Show. The first arc, which is the beginning up until Kamina dies, is the arc that is like the dawn of the mecha giant robot genre. Gigantor and those giant robot shows. Episodic. They're not very complex, but you feel good watching them.
Yeah, this is fun stuff.
From Kamina's death up until the end of the time skip is the sort of generation when they started realizing anime was a valid art form. Like the original Mobile Suit Gundam and like Big O or that sort of thing. Stuff that wasn't deconstruction, but taking itself more seriously. But post-time skip, we start entering into the realm of deconstruction. This is the era that spawned Neon Genesis Evangelion, of really dark things.
Very dark things. Ava took the whole concept of kids piloting robots and went, you know what? In real life, that would suck, because you'd have your life on the line all the time, and being a child soldier is not fun. And they made a whole show about it, and then a whole bunch of people who watched that show were like, why aren't the child soldiers having any fun? It should be super fun to, like, constantly be under the threat of death. And you're like, I know that's the normal logic of anime, but this one is taking it in a more realistic direction.
Hey, say what you will. I believe in the power of the spiral. I believe in
communist Gurren Lagann is great. I'm so glad that show exists, and they can do that angle on things. I'm also glad for Ava's angle on things.
Okay.
It's something that I've identified with, a sense of like, what the frick, I don't know what I'm doing here, and I feel lost, and, you know, that sense of being very stressed.
Yeah, this following arc, up until they go out into space, because of course they do, because anime.
All the lights in the sky are our enemies.
Yeah,
in the alternate timeline.
Yeah. Up until that point, this is the arc of deconstruction when we start looking at, this is what would actually happen. So, human society has begun to flourish anew on the surface. Where Tepelin was, they've built Communist City, named after, you'll never guess who. Yes, that's right, Fred Rogers. Because even in the distant space future, Mr. Rogers is awesome. No, but they named it after Communa. And things are settled down for the most part. But there's unrest under the surface. Like, for example, Nia is still not really understanding of humans and stuff. So she says absolutely no way to when Simone asks her to marry him.
Having no idea what exactly he's asking, because she's totally willing to say yes if she knew what the frick was going on.
And she does.
Eventually, yeah.
See, various members of Team Daiguren have gotten married, and you'll notice I'm not really mentioning a lot of their names. Well, that's because, honestly, they aren't important until they are.
Right.
And even then, they're still not that important. Yeah. Like, I can't name anyone without having a picture, at least in front of me. But it also starts to deconstruct that Simon and his friends are in charge of the government. They start pointing out that this is not a good idea because turns out the ability to punch something in the face with a giant robot does not mean you're good at deciding what taxes should be.
Very different skill sets.
Yeah. It really doesn't help that... Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. But Rosyu has heard that... Well, the last words of the Spiral King were... Just make sure to protect the Earth, and oh yeah, don't let 1 million humans come to the surface.
Yeah. Was it 1 million living on the surface or 1 million existing in general?
That's a little vague, but given that there's but based on the fact that the movie also has Rosyu violating the Spiral King's last words, and that triggering what happens next, I'm thinking it's 1 million living humans.
Yeah, okay. So.
I'll explain that when I talk about the movies, which are better and worse in some ways. Well, one of the black siblings, we've skipped over them because as much as I like Kitan, he's not very important. His shtick is, I'm better than Kamina, which continues even after Kamina is dead. I mean, he still does his job and he's good at what he does, but, you know, he's not really that important in the grand scheme of things. It also turns out that Viral's been arrested for trying to protect the people who just wanted to stay back in their villages underground instead of coming up to the surface. Whereas Rosyu has ordered, everyone has to come to the surface so I can take a census of everyone to make sure that we don't get above 1 million people.
Because the Spiral King told us something vaguely bad will happen if that happens.
Yeah, and granted, I tend to take a guy seriously if he has a giant robot.
Yeah, no. I mean, ultimately, Rosyu is right to be worried about this. And,
So what happens is that one of the black siblings gives birth to her child, who is the 1 millionth person on Earth. Oh dear. At this point, Nia gets turned into a supervillain. I'm not kidding. Because it turns out that these bad guys called the Anti-Spirals have existed. And they're the ones who forced all of humanity to live underground. They left the Spiral King in charge because...
He helped them out. He betrayed his own men, as I recall.
Oh, yeah, he did.
So
he betrayed his men.
Yeah, he becomes a more complex character. He
was trying to protect humanity from...
Right. He saw that they were at war or whatever, and he saw the Anti-Spirals, in his view, were utterly undefeatable. And the only way humanity would be allowed to survive would be if they're... Am I getting this slightly wrong?
Getting this slightly wrong, but it suits the purposes for now.
Oh, okay.
Because that's a big spoiler and stuff, and we're going to give the proper gravitas
we were doing... All right, go ahead.
Well, yeah, but still, I'm trying to go in order, you know.
Okay, sorry.
Nia starts saying, "You guys are fucked."
Then that exact tone of voice.
Oh, yeah. Actually, given how high-pitched her voice is, that would not surprise me, actually. So, yeah. Then these things called Mugan start appearing, which means faceless. Oh, and by the way, since all technology is descended from technology from gunmen, and gunmen have only faces, everything on the planet is technological has a face now. Buildings have faces. Cars have faces. So for these things to be faceless, that's kind of a big deal. And, well, it looks like, this is going to be a problem handled easily by Simon. He does the Giga Drill Breaker on one of them. The problem is that when Mugan and all anti-spiral things are destroyed, they turn into little blocks that fall to the ground and explode like bombs.
So suddenly,
in the middle of a city.
Suddenly, being the big hero thing is kind of not working.
Yeah, which is actually part of the problem for the next couple episodes where they try to figure out how to fight these things. Turns out that they're reverse-engineered gunmen called Grapparals, or Gulapurals? Grapparals, whatever. There's like a couple different ways to say it, and no one is really sure how to best do it. Except for the show makers, and I hate them.
No, you don't.
Yes, I don't. Now, some people have said that the Grapparals are manifestly inferior to gunmen in every way. To which I say no, that is not true. Grapparals were simply designed to fight gunmen. The problem is that gunmen were designed to fight the anti-spirals, like the Mugan. And their weapons are actually really effective against Mugan and other anti-spiral mecha and stuff. The problem is that there's two problems with that. First off, the gunmen are designed for use by humans. They were designed by the greatest scientists of the original Spiral Society that birthed the Spiral King. Grapparals are reverse-engineered kludge jobs that were based on scavenged technology that humans barely understood. Quite frankly, I am surprised if 1 in 10 people knows how to read before the time skip. That's not a joke. Even the greatest scientist only knew about 10 different words, and that was Leron. Granted, he might, I don't know what was up with him 90% of the time, so I could be wrong on that one. It's not that they're inferior or superior, it's that they were designed for different foes to fight. And they do manage to get upgrades. Rossiu then decides to arrest Simon because, you saved the city and then blew it up. He then arranges a show trial where Simon is defended by literally the dumbest person alive. Yeah, it's either Jorgen or Belinbo, who are absolute frickin' morons. I'm serious, these guys are idiots. And they were asked to defend them when they had much smarter people, aka anyone on the planet. They could have taken that baby that was the millionth child born and have it defend Simon, and it would have been a better choice. Anyways, so Simon gets sent to jail because this is the arc of deconstruction. But he's asked to serve out his time, or rather he actually gets busted out of jail by Yoko. We get to see what Yoko does in an episode, and she's a school teacher now.
With a sniper rifle.
Well, of course, as all the best teachers do. Oh man, I remember when my English teacher brought in her Beretta. And my computer teacher who had an Uzi.
Yeah, that sounds dangerous.
Yeah, so eventually Simon starts figuring out how to fight these things, meaning that you do the Giga Drill Breaker out in the wastelands where it's not going to kill a jillion people. You can do it in such a way that isolates it, and meaning that the grapparols can shoot down the little explodey particle things. But eventually the grapparols start to get ammunition that actively nullifies the explodey thing, so they can just kill these things, no problem. It is then that it's revealed that Nia comes up and says, hey, that's great that you figured out how to defeat them. The moon is going to smash into the earth in a week.
Oh, boy.
Because of course it will. Then the moon starts approaching the earth, and it grows a face.
The faces.
So Rossio decides to evacuate as many humans as possible onto a spaceship that he's been building, and it's then that the anti-spirals start to reveal their game. Their game is to create absolute despair. Because there's this energy called spiral power. It's created by determination and will, and is an energy source that all life forms seek to emulate. Because of this, all life forms will instinctively start to evolve into a humanoid shape. Yes, that doesn't make any sense based on what we know of evolutionary science, though I can kind of finagle it if I twist my mind in the right way. It's why DNA is in the shape of a spiral. It's why drills are the most effective weapon of spiral warriors. It's why we had the Spiral King, because he was the most powerful spiral energy user in existence.
And even the galaxy is a spiral. I love how many things they just managed to bring together there. That was really neat.
Mm-hmm. However, it's possible to nullify spiral energy if you feel despair. Look at how Simon wasn't doing well when he thought that his crush was in love with Kamina. Look at how Simon basically fell apart once Kamina died. Both times. Look at how everyone's kind of just falling apart. This is the anti-spiral strategy. Elicit maximum despair by making you think you have a chance, but then kicking you in the balls when you think you're on top of the world. So they
and they believe that if spiral energy went unchecked...
No, we'll get to that.
Oh, okay.
So because I'm skipping a ton of stuff, Yoko breaks Simon out of prison. They get to Gurren Lagann. Gurren Lagann flies up into space and docks with with Rossio's ship. Rossio's ship then transforms into Arc Gurren Lagann, which is even bigger and more drilly, and they manage to defeat a giant gunman. And then it drills down into the center of the moon because Rossio saved Lord Genome's head and is keeping it in a jar for use as a computer.
Yes. Because
this is that anime. And he reveals this is not actually the moon. The anti-spirals stole the real moon. Thank you, sentences I thought I would never say. And replaced this with a watch post, which was actually an old ship of his. Because of course it was.
It's the size of the moon.
Of course it is. So Simon digs down into the center of the moon where the control area is, and inside of it, in front of the hole, where they're supposed to insert a drill to enter the spiral energy into the moon that will allow them to gain control of the moon, is Nia. And now, this might be a thing where you say, oh, he's going to talk her out of it. And you're sort of right. But the thing is, she's standing in front of the hole. If they hurt her or kill her, she's an anti-spiral. She will explode. The moon will then be uncontrollable, smash into the earth, everyone goes bye-bye. They manage to talk to her, and it looks like he's about to sacrifice her, but then Simon just doesn't and just inserts the drill into the hole. And at that moment, he says, don't worry, I'll find you. Nia comes back from her I'm an evil monster thing and goes, you'll really find me? Or something to that effect. And then gets taken away to the anti-spiral homeworld.
No.
Yep. What happens next? Well, remember how I said that there are different arcs? This is where the arc of deconstruction ends. Now comes the final saga of Gurren Lagann. This is where things get insane. Like, even for this show. Because this is the... If the last arc was the arc of deconstruction, this is the arc of reconstruction. A way to say, yes, there are consequences for your actions. And we'll show that. People will die. But they won't be forgotten. And we'll show you that even if bad things happen, this will still be totally awesome. And that's what it does. So, Team Gurren now takes command of Cathedral Terra, also known as... I'm just going to call it Cathedral Terra because that's a cool fucking name. Which was the moon, but then gets turned into the super battleship we saw at the beginning of the film. Beginning of the show. At that point, they travel into 11.5 dimensional space, because fuck you, that's why, where they recover the moon and put it back in orbit. Then, once they do that, they go out to search for Nia and end the threat of the anti-spirals once and for all. There's a lot of battles here against the forces of the anti-spirals, which appear to be giant potatoes with faces all over them, hands that are fighters the size of Arc Gurren Lagann, and feet the size of Arc Gurren Lagann. And all the members of Gurren also get like Arc versions of their gunmen, meaning they're all the size of Arc Gurren Lagann, so big spaceship stuff. And we see about 5 or 6 of them die here. It's... it's emotional stuff. Yeah. But no time for that now, because I do eventually want to finish this. Eventually, they force their way past that and make it to the Spiral Death Field, which is an area of space that is so super dense that it looks and acts exactly like water. So the walls of Cathedral Terra start buckling, and it looks like water is pouring in, but that's actually it being spaced.
Oh, right.
And it's actively draining away their spiral power, so they can't do anything. Kitan decides to be awesome here, because he drives out in Arc King Kitan, his mech, and he flies out and manages to perform the Giga Drill Breaker in an awesome scene. It takes about a minute, but it's completely amazing, and he destroys the Spiral Death Field. It is at this point that Simon decides, hey, that was awesome. I can't be shown up. So he starts absorbing all the energy from the destroyed Spiral Death Field and uses it to transform Cathedral Terra into Choginga Gurren Lagann. Basically, it is a robot the size of the moon.
Wow.
Because of course it is. And yes, this one still has sunglasses. Because shut up, that's why. It is here that the anti-spiral king shows up and says, well done, idiots. Guess what? You're all idiots. I hate you. Let me show you what you're really in for. And he traps them in what he calls a multi-dimensional labyrinth. It's basically a personal heaven for everyone, except you can't escape ever. Even, you know, the old cliche of, oh, I know this is a dream, but I'll just wake up anyway. That doesn't work. You're just pulled into a different section of the multi-dimensional labyrinth. Everyone's shown their own personal heaven. Simon is shown Kamina alive, and they're bank robbers. Well, no, they're not. They're jewelry thieves.
Well, I think the main point there was hanging out with Kamina, being his daily routine.
But it's still... and it shows, like, the different heavens of everyone, and it's all nice-ish and shit. Then Buddha, for some reason, turns into a humanoid furry thing and punches this anti-spiral king in the face and gets sucked into the heaven thing, too. It's weird. But then, amazingness happens. I say that a lot, but this time it really is actually a very sweet and tender moment. In Simon's heaven dimension thing, he and Kamina have been caught, and somehow they're in the valley that's, they found Nia in the real world. And they're standing next to Nia's crate thing and Simon starts grasping at his chest to try to find his cordial, because even though Dream Kamina is bowing and scraping, going, please don't kill us, we're so sorry, we didn't mean to do it, we're innocent. to the authorities, Simon is fascinated by this box, and he wants to open it, and he's grasping at nothing, because this drill isn't around his neck. And then a voice appears. What's the matter, Simon? You lost your drill? Kamina's back!
In dream form, but yes.
Okay, I say this is the real Kamina.
Oh, you think it is?
I think it's the real Kamina in spirit form.
Yeah, it could be.
The other Kamina is a dream.
Well, that one definitely is, yeah. And I always thought that was part of Simon's realization, was that other Kamina is like begging and pleading for mercy. And like, you know what? No. Real Kamina is not begging for anything.
Yeah, so Kamina basically gives a speech to Simon, because that is what Kamina does. He gives awesome hot-blooded speeches that make you want to do the impossible. And then you will do the impossible, because you would rather die than let down Kamina. Well, okay, maybe you actually will die.
Wow. Kamina died for us, actually. It's again, the impact of his life and death carries throughout the show. I really like that.
Yeah. So, Simon then reverts to his adult self, opens the box, and inside of the box is the spirits of everyone who died trying to get there. Since they left Earth, meaning all those people that I mentioned who died, whose names I can't remember because I am a terrible person.
That's okay.
Yeah, their souls are all in there and saying, go get him. And it's really emotional and stuff. And finally, Kamina says, hey, I didn't notice. You're taller than me. Now, this has multiple meanings. One is that Simon is actually physically taller than Kamina at this point. The other is that Simon's legacy has eclipsed anything that Kamina could have done. But we still love him more because he's freaking Kamina. He's awesome.
It's for make a small note here to the whole structure they use with the decoy protagonist, or decoy, guy of most focus anyway. Tommy just seemed to be the hero at first, and then it really is about Simon's story, growing into Kamina's shoes and then expanding beyond them. Also, I want to make a note on the bit where they put everyone into heaven dimensions. I did feel that they could have used just a few sentences of explaining why they could have done that, because it would have been a little neat for them. Because I think Lord Genome's head is still like awake and not in any dimension, and he's like talks to the Anti-Spiral King for a little bit. Remember this?
He does. I forgot about that.
Yeah, and he could say like, "Hey, why did you do that?" And I could imagine the Anti-Spiral King saying that they're basically doing testing on these people. They want to know more about what motivates them and how their psychology works, so that they can use that data to be even better at causing despair in the future.
I thought that's what they actually said.
Did they say all that out loud?
Yeah.
I like that idea.
Actually, no. They said that Buddha was actually the thing that was different about them.
Wow.
Although, personally, I say that Kamina was the different thing. Because all the other spiral races were just like, yeah, let's go... Sorry. Let's go beat up the anti-spirals for our own gain. But like I said, you will die for Kamina's sake because you would rather die than let him down. They're trying to live up to Kamina's example. And because they're not fighting for themselves, but for their ideals, that's what makes Team Daiguren so much more dangerous.
Yeah. And
for some reason, they think it's all Buddha. They think it's a pigmol. They're partially right, but still. So thanks to Kamina's influence, everyone gets broken out of the heaven dimension. And then we're shown really creepy scene of the Anti-Spiral King interrogating Nia, calling her an irregular. I think that must mean something worse in Japanese.
Possibly. I would need to see the original word, and I'm still not fluent. So
yeah, but whatever. And she's making kind of suggestive moans. It's kind of creepy to watch. Well, she's also being tortured, so there's also screams of pain, but also suggestive moans.
I don't know what was going on there.
Yeah, it's really kind of weird. But no matter what, she keeps saying, he will come for me. And then out of the wedding ring still on her finger, which was a plot point earlier, a giant Gurren Lagann literally jumps out of out of her wedding ring.
Emotions are power, you guys. It's awesome.
And then drills come out of Gurren Lagann with the remaining members of Team Daiguren. Anti-Spiral King's like, no, how is this busy? How can this be? How is this possible? You're mere spiral life forms. Simon gives a hot-blooded speech back saying, don't underestimate us. Well, Gurren Lagann summons Art Gurren Lagann around it, and then that summons Choginga Gurren Lagann around it. Then the drills containing the other members pierce into the metal body of Choginga Gurren Lagann, or Super Galaxy Gurren Lagann. And finally, it rises. The titular mech of the series, Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann, which is the size of a galaxy. Yeah, Word of God says this thing is 10 million light years tall. For reference, the largest galaxy we found is only 5 million light years tall. And the anti-spirals just effortlessly summon up Gran Zamboa, which is a mech about the same size as this one. And it's just a big epic final battle, punching and fighting and drills everywhere. Each of the pilots of TTGL start using their own skills, like Attenborough starts firing off clusters of missiles. Yoko takes the helm, and then it's got a sniper rifle. Viral manages to take control at one point and starts sword fighting with the anti-spiral king. It's really cool. And then it gets to the point where the anti-spirals are like, nope, fuck this, we're done. And grab two galaxies, smush them together. By the way, this is in like conceptual spiral space, according to their words. So this isn't like real galaxies filled with people being destroyed.
I just assumed they were, the Power Rangers Megazord would always like step on conveniently empty buildings. These are conveniently empty galaxies being thrown around here,
Also, physics doesn't really work in this.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, every visible twitch of these things would shatter physics. Grabs two galaxies, smushes them together, and then fires it, screaming, Infinity, Big Bang, Storm! Be consumed in the fire of creation! Be utterly destroyed down to the last scrap of DNA! Which is really funny because they just said, we removed all emotions from ourselves. Yeah. And the reason why they've been doing all of this is, well, spiral energy has the power to create matter. If you overuse spiral power, it'll create a galaxy and stars and black holes. It will cause the universe to collapse in on itself.
And that'll be the end of everything, they believe.
And worse, every spiral user knows this. They can feel it inside of themselves. They just don't realize what it means up until the anti-spirals show them this. That's actually why Lord Genome turned his back on the spiral races. Because he knew that if we destroy these guys, we're going to create spiral nemesis and destroy the universe. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of telling what happens next, because of shenanigans, there's a portal open to Earth. So everyone on Earth can now see the battle between Gurren Lagann, Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann, and the other one.
The evil one. Yeah, whatever.
So they're witnessing as Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann is holding back literally a energy blast with the force of the Big Bang. Rossiu is watching from down on Earth and says, this is bad. But it'll take a lot more than that to make them give up. And it says a lot about the characters when they say, they're being hit with the force of the universe being created, but that's nothing for these guys. Simon agrees, somehow hearing him from quintillions of light years away.
Magic.
Yeah, magic, sure, whatever. Then Lord Genome, who had been regenerated once they turned into Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann, shows up, and Lazengan pops out of the stomach of Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann, forms around Lord Genome. Lord Genome catches it, and is destroyed by the blast, but is turned into a drill with Lord Genome's face on it. Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann eats it, Blah blah blah, and the anti-spirals are defeated by way of punching and drills and hot-blooded speeches.
It's even cooler to actually see the show.
Yeah, I'm trying to sum it up because I've been doing this for
an hour and 9 minutes.
Yeah, so I'm trying to speed through this. And then they're back on Earth, and everyone's happy. Nia and Simon finally get married, and just after they kiss, and they're husband and wife, Nia disintegrates into nothingness.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. This is how it ends.
But you got to give the context to it. Like, Simone is they're both of them are entirely expecting this. Essentially, she was already terminal, and she got to have her wedding day just before the end, and it's actually really sweet, you know. And then there's that one kid who's like, "Hey, well, wait, what do you mean she's dead? You know, she can't be gone. Bring her back. Use spiral power." And then someone says to him, like, "Hey, you know, Simone isn't God or whatever." But if someone hasn't done this already, and I bet they have, there should be a little fan comic of, like, use spiral power. Hey, you're right. My drill is the drill that will pierce the heavens. And then he pierces into fluffy cloud heaven and, like, hey, Nia, you want to be alive again? Sure. And he just, like, takes her back home.
Meanwhile, like, Kamina and Kitan are just like, the hell, dude?
Oh, yeah, you too. And then then God is just sitting there like, all right, fine, whatever.
Okay, but in reality, there is a thematic reason for not doing this. The way of the spiral power, the way that they have always been emphasizing is don't look back, look forward. If you keep bringing back these people from the past, that's just trapping you in the past. People need to die. That's okay. That sounds like, but like people will die.
The circle of life or something. Yes.
People will die, but they will have pushed you forward. If you bring them back, you're going backwards. You're not advancing. That's not the way a drill works.
That's right. He did mention another analogy with drills. I love it.
Although, to be fair, I think it's more along the lines of Sion doesn't want to start the spiral nemesis by overusing spiral power to bring back the people that he likes. Because he knows that if he does that, he doesn't really have a reason to not do that for other people.
Well, I've always kind of actually wondered, and maybe I should see the series again to see if they clarified this. Like, did they fix the whole spiral nemesis problem?
They did not.
See, okay,
I mean, there's still the potential of it in the future, but the thing is that it's kind of implied in, like, some small way that they're working on it. That, you don't always have the perfect solution to all of your problems. Nia would have disintegrated anyway. Even Nia disintegrated, you couldn't fix that. Spiral energy is not a perfect energy source. You can't fix that. You can find some other energy source that'll help you, but there are problems with spiral energy. There are problems that you need to fix. We can't have all our problems fixed.
I mean, I get the artistic value of that, of being like, as a hopeful future, and in the meantime, there's things to be fixed in the future. But I could also, have seen the value of them coming to some realization that, actually this can be made to work, and the anti-spirals had it all wrong, and maybe the anti-spiral king is like made to realize this just as he's about to die, just as he's been hit with the mortal blow, and he finally, somehow or other, I don't know the details, realizes that it is possible to beat spiral nemesis by, ironically, having enough spiral power, or the right kind of it, or some virtue or value that goes along with it that nullifies what would otherwise have been the negative effect.
Yeah, I kind of like it the way it is.
It is good. I wasn't like really. I loved the ending. I just kind of kicking around this one other idea on the side.
Okay, and onto the movies real quick. The movies I'm not going to get really deep into. The reason being is that they're recaps. I'm serious. They're 2-hour movies that basically recap the events of the series. They just change some stuff here and there.
How many movies are there?
2.
Okay.
They're the hilariously imaginative names of Gurren Lagann and Lagann.
Okay.
Yeah. They mostly don't change that much, just simplifying things, which on the plus side means there's a lot of scenes that get expanded or changed. Like the final battle against the 4 generals, that gets changed into a battle against a giant flying doom fortress made of all of the generals' carrier mechs. smushed together. Except there's a problem. See, here's how the battle goes. They form themselves into the big mechs, Dogen Tengai-zan, something like that.
Sounds good.
And then they fire a barrage of missiles at Team Daiguren and the Daiguren and all of their mechs. Simone absorbs the blast with an energy barrier made out of spiral power. Then all of the members of Team Daiguren that are alive, focus their energy into Simone, who does a Giga Drill break that destroys the enemy super mech entirely, and that's the end of the movie. Which unfortunately means that the second movie starts after the time skip, meaning we miss out on the final battle with Lord Genome. It really gets rid of a lot of really cool fights and story elements from the pre-time skip era. Although I do have to say the "My bro is dead" speech is way better in the movie.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Hard to top that, the original.
It's better animated. Plus, it has him actually kill a general. It's also there that Viral learns that Kamian is dead instead of several months later.
I see.
The second movie gets kind of insane. And by kind of, I mean absolutely out of your mind insane. They have Cathedral Lagann. The moon just turns into the giant robot immediately and is going to smash the planet. And here's where I say that Rossiu bringing people up to the surface might have been the catalyst, because they changed that in the film. In the film, they say, oh, his last words were not, if 1 million people are on the surface, it's, if you go to the moon. Rossiu goes to the moon.
Ah.
So either way, it makes sense, because it's his fault then.
I see.
Yeah. And I'm skipping out on a lot of details from the series, by the way, including Rossiu decides to commit suicide, so Simone invents faster-than-light travel to punch him in the face. And give him a
this
therapy
fixes him
punch.
somehow. Yeah.
Well, okay, admittedly, his girlfriend-ish thing.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's not the point. Then they go up against the anti-spiral forces in the 11.5 dimension, except that only Kitan dies this time, which is important because it means there's more people to pilot Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann. Except here is where the anti-spiral king reveals, yeah, guess what? Nia's gonna die if you kill us. And that causes everyone to fall into despair, which is really bad for spiral users. And we get to see Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann get its ass ripped. No, I'm serious. The mech gets ripped to shreds by Gran Zimboa. And finally, it rips the head off and starts to try to drill it open. Only for it to reveal, oh wait, this is the head of a Gurren Lagann-based mech. Mm. It's its own mech. Mm-hmm. At this point, all of the members of Team Daiguren summon Tengen Toppa versions of their mechs out of nowhere and start fighting the anti-spiral king. It is amazing. I love it to death so much. And yes, this does include a giant robot T-Rex made of fire and metal. Woo! It does include Yoko having a gunman, which is something the movie changed for the better, I think. And also, them being so hot-blooded, they summon a volcano from nowhere in space. It is at this point that the Anti-Spiral King goes, oh, I'm done with this, does the Infinity Big Bang Storm. Then Lord Genome decides, you know that moment I had in the original one where I sacrificed my life? I'm going to be more awesome today. So he hasn't come back with a gunman yet. So instead of summoning like a Tengen Toppa thing, he walks out into space from nothing, from Simone's Tengen Toppa Lagann, wearing nothing but fire. I'm not kidding here. He's only wearing fire. Crosses his arms and summons Lagann from nothing. Literally nothing. He then flies into the Infinity Big Bang Storm, absorbs it, turns himself into a drill. His face is on the tip of the drill, screaming, Simone, take it! Lagann eats it. Tengen Toppa Lagann eats it. And yes, I did just say, then the robot ate the drill with a man's face on it. And lines of light pierce out from Tengen Toppa Lagann to all the other Tengen Toppa mecha. Sucks it in to form Super Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann, which along with Super Grand Zamboa, which we'll see in a second, the single largest mech in all of anime.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's a potential for like these two other ones, but I've heard it argued that those are from visual novels, and also they're not from Gurren Lagann, so I don't care. So yeah, this thing is the size of the visible universe. And according to Word of God, it's Kamina resurrected.
Oh wow! It does. It has the cape, doesn't it, and everything.
It has the cape, although it is Kamina, but with Simon's glasses. And they do basically the same. The rest of the story goes basically the same, except that instead of ending with Lagann piercing through the Anti-Spiral King, it ends with a fist fight between Simon and the Anti-Spiral King.
He does like this. It like is this Russian doll nesting doll ejection thing where the one robot jumps out of the next and the next and the next and the next, and finally just Simon jumps out personally.
Which it did that. It did that in the original.
Oh, that's right.
Except that Simon didn't get out.
Yeah.
And then formed a drill out of his own blood.
Yeah.
And that's Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann.
So basically what we're saying is this show is so epic that we can't review it at all without spending an hour and 20 minutes just telling you about all the epicness.
Yeah.
It's just
literally,
like...
the TV Tropes awesome page for this series is a minute-by-minute analysis of this show. I'm not kidding here. Ugh.
Yeah.
Now, why do I say this is my favorite? Well, I mean, yes, I touched on a lot of things. I didn't talk about the pastor in Rocio's hometown managing to pilot a gunman with no training. I didn't tell you about Simon begging Kamina to get out of the earthquake because he's afraid that Kamina will die and he'll have no one left with him. But if you want my opinion on what this story is really about, it's the power of ideals. How they can transcend even one's own limitations and thoughts. When I said you will die for Kamina because you want to live up to his example, I meant that. I truly believe that an ideal drives you further than you can yourself.
That the ideals of Kamina outlive Kamina is a major idea there. Yeah.
One thing I really found fascinating was shortly after Kamina died, Yoko was talking to Simon, and he tells a story of how they were in a cave-in once, and everyone had given up, except for Kamina, who kept yelling and screaming and saying, "We're gonna make it out of here! We're gonna make it out of here!" And because of that, Simon was buoyed up because he didn't want to let his brother down, his bro down. And they got out of there. And Simon says, thanks to Kamina, we all made it out of there alive.
You know what? That's actually a lot more realistic than people might realize. There's a story I read about, and there's a true story of kids in a bus that got stuck in a landslide. And they were like underground for a while before rescuers could find them. And they were all children, and they were like traumatized by this. Thankfully, nobody died. But the one kid who recovered fastest was the kid who never stopped screaming and pounding the side of the bus in anger, like refusing to give up. Like, God damn it, we are getting out of this goddamn bus for like 2 days straight or whatever. And yeah, that's actually like, emotionally healthy to have defiance, at least in some cases, against what would otherwise be despair, you know?
Yeah. But the important part of that story is that Yoko, just before Kamina died, heard from Kamina his side of the story.
All right.
See, Kamina had actually given up, but he saw Simon drilling and working his way on getting free. So when he saw Simon flagging, he would pretend to be all upbeat and fiery and stuff and going, yeah, we can get out of here. Come on. So he said, thanks to Simon, we all got out of there. And that's actually backed up a little bit by Word of God, which said that Simon had the Kamina had the lowest amount of spiral energy of all the main characters.
Strange.
No, because his talent was not advancing himself. Because he was terrified constantly. He fell into despair. He was not brave. but he wanted to put on a brave face so that people wouldn't lose hope.
So he cared enough about the people. That's a really great distinction between just the arrogant guy who wants to have a good image versus the guy who really does care about the people around him, and he's putting on a brave face not for his own image, but for other people's benefit.
Yeah.
That's a really cool idea.
They actually have said that the only time he really used spiral power was when he did the Giga Drill Breaker.
Yeah, I think that one would require spiral power.
Yeah. Although some people have analyzed this and said this is the moment where he didn't say, he said to Simone, probably one of the best speeches I've heard in the entire show. Remember, Simone, believe in yourself. Not in the Simone who believes in me. Not in the Kamina who believes in Simone. But believe in the Simone that Simone believes in.
Aww.
And this is like one of the last things he says to him before dying, permanently. This is the moment where Kamina has said, look, you don't need to believe in me. He might be even be saying, I'm not important. What's important is you need to believe in you. Of course, that kind of went out the window because they still use Kamina as their inspiration and stuff. So I'm not 100% how...
You know, we can just trade back and forth who's inspiring who, right? It's a community connection we've got going on. The whole bit of Kamina putting on a face to inspire Simone to get out of the cave-in really reflects on the earlier bit of believe in me who believes in you. It's like, literally, that's what got us out of the cave, is you believed in me when I believed to make you believe and bring... I know that you know that she knows that you...
Yeah, but it works.
Yeah, it works. That's again, what's great about this, there are plenty of other shows, probably not as well animated, but even so, there are plenty of shows with, like, big, you know, climactic violent struggles and defeating big evil and whatever, but... Gurren Lagann taps into this deeper wellspring of hope and even like some sort of philosophy of hot-bloodedness and caring for each other and believing in each other and in oneself. That makes it feel like so much more important. Like you're actually learning something from this show and not just watching things hit each other because that's cool.
It is.
It is cool. But we've got this undercurrent that like props it up, you know? I'm not sure currents prop things up. You know what I mean?
Remember how I said like they all combine their energy in the movie into the Simone's Giga Drill Breaker to defeat that evil super fortress?
Yes.
I literally just thought in my head as I saw that, that's how you do friendship elements of harmony.
Yeah.
And that's not me bashing My Little Pony, but that was genuinely my thought because it wasn't, okay, we're trying to defeat this pony. No, it was fiery spirits who had not met the day before. They'd fought together. They had seen their close friend and leader die. They lived up to the examples that they put down, and they said, no, we're freeing the world. That's how you do friendship.
That's how you do it.
That's friendship.
That's awesome.
Now, if I have a complaint to say... Oh, I just started vomiting blood. I said something negative about Gurren.
No.
Okay, in all fairness, what's not really known is that they were starting to run out of money towards the end. Studio Gainax.
I thought they were well known for, in this particular series, saving a lot of money for the end, and that's why there's such cool animation at the end.
But the problem with it is that the end went really, really fast.
You think so?
Well, yes.
They had like
Art Gurren Lagann had virtually no screen time. Shogun Gurren Lagann showed up 2 episodes before the end.
True.
Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann showed up in like the last 2 episodes.
But it's not like Tengen Toppa is its own character that needs to be explored in depth.
Okay,
it is a tool of the main characters.
Yes, but I could see like an entire season going into the deconstruction arc.
Yeah.
So like draw that out a little more. And then like a whole season of the looking for Nia bit with like bits of life stuff.
Yeah. I'm actually torn on that because I could see how it could have been expanded and you could have explored more. On the other hand, it's really neat how dang distilled it is. How, like, every freaking episode is just so cool.
Exactly.
And they didn't drag it out. I also love, there's actually 27 episodes, isn't there?
Yeah, 27.
I love that because you get to, most series, if they're one season, are 26 episodes. That's the standard in Japan. So I'm getting towards the end, and I think, is this one going to be the end? And then they get, oh no, they had to break through the limits and do the impossible and have one more episode.
Speaking of do the impossible, check out the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Yes, there are about 3 that use the Row Row Fight the Power rap, which it's okay on its own, and it's good English for the most part, even if I don't know what a microphone phenotype is.
I couldn't tell you either. That makes no sense.
Yeah, no. Even TV Tropes doesn't know. I was like, does anyone know what a microphone phenotype is? The answers were no. Oh, good. That's not clear at all. I prefer Libera Me from Hell, which has ominous Latin chanting about someone praying for a soul stuck in hell, and is just generally more epic. Pierce Through the Heavens with Your Ex, which is the song they sing, the song that plays when Lagann pierces through to the surface, and when they do the Giga Drill Breaker for the first time.
It's called With Your Ex?
Yes.
Just you fill in the X with a drill, I guess, or something?
No, with your X. Just letter X.
Well, yeah, but why? Okay. Well.
I don't know!
Pierce the Heavens with Your Q!
Just anything from the soundtrack is amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Although, my personal favorite, Sora Iro
that
Days.
one is amazing.
To the point where I have literally 5 different versions of the song on my phone.
Yeah, there have been some really good fan dubbings of that. I'm not sure. Was there ever an official English version of that song?
I don't think so.
No, it's just, yeah, listen up, what can you hear? And so forth.
And there's even a version of it where someone in a different anime is singing it in karaoke.
Oh, wow.
I'm not kidding. Look this up. This show is surprisingly mature but surprisingly awesome. It goes to the highest heights of hot-bloodedness and to the deepest depths of meaning, and my God, I love this anime so frickin' much.
See, there's a reason I called it a classic at the beginning of this review.
Okay, yes, you're right. It's a classic.
It'll stand the test of time, don't worry.
Yeah, and my complaint about it being a little rushed at the end, that's fair in its own self, that like new mechs are introduced and they don't really do much.
Yeah, they didn't.
But it's really most evident in the movie when. Yeah. Well, they're trying to compress 13 episodes into a 2-hour thing.
Yeah. As far as the escalation bit goes, again comparing it to DBZ, where DBZ will have people escalate forever on and on, but it doesn't feel like anything's changed, and you're just like kind of, all right, you have level whatever now, it's even better. Tekken Toppa Gurren Lagann, though, escalates stuff, but there's always enough plot going on to make every escalation feel meaningful and also visually interesting. Throw that in there. And the characters matter enough, and it's all really just driven by, I don't know, there must be DBZ fans, Dragon Ball in general fans out there that are annoyed at me right now, but like I've gotten tired of that whole franchise for all its good points, because it just feels like they're dragging it out to infinity. And that gets back to what I said earlier about, yeah, you could have had a few more episodes, maybe even a couple more seasons of Gurren Lagann, but it felt really well encapsulated within the 27 episodes they had. They knew what they wanted to say, and they freaking said it, and they reached the end, and then bam, I like that.
Yeah. Now, some people have said that Kill la Kill is the spiritual successor to Gurren Lagann. I say to you, go fuck yourself.
Kill la Kill's got a certain wildness about it, and I can see people liking that, but it doesn't have, at least not from what I've seen, the heart of Gurren Lagann.
Absolutely not.
It's just the wildness for its own sake, mostly.
I thought it was trying too hard.
I could see, why you'd think that.
Also, I don't like fan service for its own sake.
Yeah, it was kind of
okay,
a lot of
yes,
that.
Gurren Lagann had fan service too, but you know what? It worked, because that was the wackiness of Gurren Lagann.
Right, remember that bit where, in an early episode, like, Kamina is taunted by that bathhouse one or whatever, like if you surrender your mech, then we'll show you pictures of the girls or something
naked.
Yeah. And Kamina is willing to go along with that, and they just show him pictures of them, just turns out they're just in towels and everything, and he's like, what? Point is, though, I took that to be actually they're giving a small little exploration of a character flaw in Kamina. You know, like, yeah, we've mentioned him being stupid in a few occasions.
Let's be fair to him. I didn't see any women his age in Biha Village. Yoko is probably the first woman he's met that didn't have a face like 5 miles of bad road from mining.
Oh dear. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Point was, yeah, no.
I'm gonna. Okay, well, I'm going to the anti-feminist jail where they put all the people who say sexist things.
Point I'm getting around to though is that Kami is flawed, and that was presented that way, and that we have a much deeper and more meaningful romance with Simone and Nia. And it's like, oh yeah, the show is entirely aware of that. It's not one of those just fan servicey shows where women in general only exist for their fan service properties.
Yeah, plus, I don't recall Yoko ever running like a doofus.
Yeah,
this is a thing I have in anime where they like
they
have
do that. The
arms
hands are over above
like,
the elbows.
Yeah, and they just go like this and sway a lot, and I'm like, that's not how you run. No human has ever run like that. Wait a second. Peels off the mask. It was a lizard man! You foul humans! You have discovered our secrets!
Yoko, for all her sexiness, is competent and runs like a competent person.
She's usually carrying around a frickin' sniper rifle.
Right.
She can throw chalk hard enough to bury it in a cement wall.
Yeah. Which, by the way, the Kill comparison, there are badass girls all over the place in that show. But yes, you could also say there's too much fan service. So that's a whole other discussion thing, but whatever. But yeah, Gurren Lagann, very, very
Gurren
classic.
Lagann is amazing. I love it to death.
Yeah. Hard to beat that.
Oh my god.
Again, yeah, it's up there, and I just make the comparison again between Evangelion, which is awesome, just in a very different way. And I think overall Evangelion appeals more to me than it does to you, and I get that. I mean,
and I think Gurren Lagann appeals to me more than it does.
Yeah, but they both appeal to me quite a lot. Yeah, it does.
But I think it appeals more to me because, well, quite frankly, a lot of what I see in life sucks.
Yeah.
Just there's a lot of depression and stuff. Yeah. It's helpful to know that there's people who feel that there's something that can say, yeah, we can do the impossible.
Right, especially when, again, they actually explore the despair in there. It's not like, I mean, how much Power Rangers have I seen? But that would be a comparison that was much more emotionally shallow from all I remember. It was like, all right, stuff is happening. Don't worry, we're going to fight it. And we win. Ta-da. This was, Kamina dies, and you actually feel it, and it matters, and we get out of that deep hole, Yeah. That was cool.
And we did it in the most manly way possible with Simone's. Literally every YouTube version of this I have seen has been titled "The Moment Simone Becomes a Man."
You know what?
And what's awesome in the background is at one point they show the remainder of Team Daiguren like staring in awe at Simone, but Liron is just got his arms folded and he's just smiling and nodding like, "Yeah, it's about time."
You know what they did somehow? They mixed like tremendous masculinity and prowess with emotional intelligence.
Exactly.
That is an interesting combination and very, I don't know, uplifting and inspiring and for a lot of people. Certainly I found inspiration in it. So yeah, I should give that show another look. It's been a long time since I watched it, actually.
Yeah.
Which is why you did all the recapping. And I was like, wait, what was the name of the thing? The guy, But even though it's been a while, I still remember
we know this wasn't as comprehensive. There's a Gurren Lagann wiki. Look it up.
Yeah, just
watch it. It's amazing.
Watch the show. That's the main thing. I hope you didn't listen to this whole review and haven't watched the show yet, because it's better than anything we could do right now.
Yeah, I mean, we gave the bare bones recap. Yeah. I didn't cover the multi-phase gunman. I didn't cover the bathhouse in its entirety and all the little jokes in it, and how Yoko in that actually gives Simone a confidence boost when he's trying to peep on her. Not in that way. But he's about to start peeping on the girls, and she just says, look, Simone is a really emotionally mature person. I think I would have been much worse off if I hadn't met him and Kamina. and he like just stops and he just puts the brick back and he walks away. And it's
isn't that nice?
yeah. I mean, in an ideal world, he wouldn't really have done it in the first place.
Right,
but still.
Character development, overcoming some flaws, That's
or what happens when Team Daiguren is trapped in an underground thing and they're all trying to get out, even though it's bedrock that's surrounding them. And Jorgen and Belinbo are trying to eat the wall. Look, I said these guys were fucking idiots. But Simon, he just has his cordial. He's digging his way out.
And the thing is like the size of a finger. He's like, dang it, I'm just digging out. I'm digging out. We're going to make it happen. And he does, eventually. It works out.
Yeah. Oh my god. Watch this show.
Mm-hmm.
Have anything else to say?
To that one viewer who recommended we watch My Hero Academia, we have started watching it.
We're up to episode 12, I think.
Yeah, so I don't know when we'll review it, but it's been cool so far. We'll get to a more proper review eventually.
I'm liking it so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's not tack on an entirely new review on the end of this one.
We already do that enough.
We do that enough. We totally do.
Yeah. Anyways.
Thanks for watching.
I'm Sith
one
King.
guy. Maybe more than one person, guy or girl. I don't know. Anyway, yes, you're Sith King, and I'm Sonic Sons.
We're signing off.